Before the Valhalla, The Audio's flagship used to be the great, the mighty V16 Divinity. The V16 Divinity is an absolute monster, sporting a $1,500 price tag as well as a 16 balance amateur driver configuration. And of course, we do have it on the Hangout.audio shop. You're watching it on the Hangout.audio channel, which means that it is Chronicle approved. But a lot of you may ask the question, how can an IEM so expensive, so opulent, be approved by moi? So let's talk about it. Back in the old days, The Audio used to have an IEM called the Voyager 3 as well as the Voyager V14, both of which I'm not exactly enthused about, but now they're discontinued, so we don't really have to care about those anymore. The Voyager series represents The Audio's pure BA series, so the V3, the V14, and now the V16 all just sport BAs. No hybrids, no ESTs, just the BAs. And that in part answers the question on why the V16 Divinity is so expensive. First of all is the fact that they are using 16 balanced amateur drivers, but on top of that, The Audio is also very proud of the fact that they're using genuine nows as well as Sonyan drivers. And for those who have even attempted to DIY an IEM, you would know that nows and Sonyan drivers are extremely expensive, especially nowadays with our situation. So you just have to imagine the costs that go into essentially making a 32 BA driver setup, which means you're gonna have to charge minimum 1,000 for it. Hell, if you go into the Western sphere, you can see all of these other Western brands are charging way more for sometimes way less. But enough of the price justifications. Let's go into the non-audio stuff. And as per usual, if you've unboxed one The Audio product, you can kind of guess what the next one will be. Inside the box, the V16 Divinity comes with the standard The Audio canvas carrying case, 3 sets of silicone tips, as well as 3 sets of foam tips. The cable is exactly what you get in the Monarch Mark II, a cloth sheathing 2-pin connection, as well as interchangeable connections, 4.4 balance, 3.5 single-ended, as well as 2.5 balance. The shell is also full resin, and since every single shell is handmade, the shell itself is also completely hollow with a metal nozzle. And finally, when it comes to the fit, it is pseudo-custom. It is comfortable for someone like me with very large ears, but I also acknowledge that it is an absolute chunker. It is a big IEM, so small ears beware. They need the space to shove in all 16 of those drivers after all. Now let's get into the audio stuff, and I fully admit that the V16 Divinity is a bit of an older IEM, so some of you may already have the conception that this IEM is already irrelevant in 2025. My mantra has always been the same. Good sound is good sound. Just because a product gets a little bit older doesn't mean that they suddenly sound bad all of a sudden. So price and driver memes aside, the V16 Divinity at the end of the day is a very well executed, warm and relaxing sound signature. You have that mid-range with that tinge of coloration to boost the vocals a little bit forward, paired up with a slightly emphasized bass response with a little extra mid-bass, I would say, and with a treble response that is down-sloping, easygoing, non-fatiguing, but at the same time still doesn't skimp out on the resolution and details. This is an IEM similar to that of the Shenmue Gate that tries to emphasize a natural tonality over shoving every detail into your face. Comparing the V16 Divinity to something like the Prestige or even the Prestige Limited, you can see it's kind of like 2 different contrasting signatures. The Prestige series are tuned similarly to the V16, but comes off with a lot more treble response, a lot more brightness, a lot more brilliance, but at the flip side, some people might consider this quite fatiguing or even sibilant. Probably the closest analog in the The Audio lineup would be the Monarch Mark II, where they both emphasize a much more neutral, almost subdued kind of sound signature, but without sacrificing any of that natural tonality with a little bit of extra coloration here and there, but you can't call them explicitly a colored signature or even a V-shaped kind of signature. I've used this term a lot in my previous showcases, but I'm just going to say it again. The V16 Divinity is a very mature kind of signature. Nothing really stands out. It's not V-shaped, it's not exciting, but it's something that you'd appreciate as a very natural and all-encompassing kind of tuning. And this is an IEM that allows for that kind of tuning without sacrificing a lot of that detail and resolution, unlike a lot of other sets. Now let's talk about the shoulds and the shouldn'ts, why you should consider buying a V16 Divinity and why you shouldn't. You should if you're looking for a more balanced almost neutral kind of sound signature that doesn't emphasize any specific part of the frequency response. The V16 goes for a much more warm, almost downsloping kind of sound signature, which could work if you're someone who's afraid of sibilance or even fatigue. This warm, non-fatiguing sound signature is also done in a way that still allows for that top-tier detail and resolution that you would expect of an IEM of this price range. And lastly, more as a joke, if you're a driver memer, because 16 BAs is probably way too much, but you know, it's a flex piece, why not? And why you shouldn't consider a V16, well, most obviously would be the price tag. $1,500 is not a small sum for an IEM. The V16 is also handmade, which means that it uses a hollow resin shell. So you do have to baby it a fair bit, because if you do drop it, there is a good chance that it may crack. And lastly, the shell size, because 16 balanced armatures are going to take up a fair bit of space. So this IEM is gonna be a large one. And that is my showcase of the V16 Divinity 3 Audio's X flagship. But you don't have to take my word for it. You can always try it out for yourself at the Hangout. We're located at 200 South Bridge Road in Chinatown. Come on down, grab a cup of coffee or even an ice cream, and then ask for the V16 Divinity. Try it out and then form your own opinions. And for those of you who are not residing in Singapore, well, you can always come on down to Hangout.audio, our online retail store. We ship globally and for free for orders over $30. This is Chronicle for Hangout.audio, and remember kids, if it's not on the list, it doesn't exist. See you next week.